Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. Today is Sunday, April the 28th, 2019. And I want to thank everybody for listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, Twitch, and for the first time this week, we'll also be on Stitcher and SoundCloud. Doing an audio only show this week. Got some new things in the works, and actually starting next week, I'm going to be doing the show live on Twitch every week because I mentioned before Twitch has changed up some of their rules about uploading pre-recorded videos onto Twitch. So I'm going to be doing the show live starting next week on Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Time is the plan. So hopefully, everybody will tune in and check that out on Twitch. And I hope everybody's following on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. On all of those, it's at Catch Hook Shoot. And I have also just started another social media page on LinkedIn, also under the name Catch Hook Shoot. So hope, like I said, hope everybody's following and subscribing, and feel free to leave questions, comments, critiques, anything that might be on your mind. I always like hearing from any of you guys, and if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So let's kind of jump into the news of the week here, starting off with some Ronda Rousey news. She posted a video on her YouTube channel this past week, basically confirming that yes, she does have a hand injury. Had to have surgery for it. Looks like she's got some pins in there, kind of holding stuff together for a little while. And made some interesting comments. She basically said she was originally only supposed to be with the WWE through November of last year, of 2018, but decided to stay on longer than that, obviously, once they put the women's championship on her, and she stayed through WrestleMania. And she basically also confirmed that she and her husband Travis Brown are working on starting a family, hoping to have a child in the near future. And pretty much said she doesn't know when or even if she'll be coming back to the WWE after that, which that's definitely understandable. I mean, you never know how she's gonna feel about returning to that career after she has a child. She may, the way she put it, she may not wanna take that time away from home after that. So it's kind of a wait and see thing. So if she does come back, I think I mentioned previously on the show, it's more than likely going to be not until either next Royal Rumble or possibly even next WrestleMania. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Some Ring of Honor War of the Worlds news coming out this week. Looks like on May the 8th in Buffalo, New York, there's going to be a 6-man tag team championship match with Villain Enterprises going up against Jeff Cobb, Yuji Nagata, and Kojima. By all accounts, Marty Scurll's Ring of Honor contract should be winding down at this point. There was speculation that it would be ending prior to the Double or Nothing AEW show. So, I mean, if Villain Enterprises drops the 6-man titles that night, it might be a safe bet that Scurll's Ring of Honor days are winding down, and he's getting ready to make that jump to AEW. So we'll have to see what the outcome is there. Moving over to the WWE, looks like the WWE took heed of some of the backlash that they were getting from fans over the name change of the War Raiders. The Viking Experience is now being called the Viking Raiders, which is definitely an improvement. But there was speculation this week that name could be changing again to the Viking Warriors. So granted, Viking Experience was a horrible name. Viking Raiders is definitely an improvement. But if they keep making these name changes one right after the other with the same team, it's gonna end up becoming a joke, and it's gonna, no matter how good the members of the team are, it's gonna end up hurting the team in the long run. So, hopefully, they're the Viking Raiders now. Hopefully it just stays that way. Just leave it alone. You listen to the fans. You made the change. People seem to be happy about it. Not maybe happy's not the right word, but they were satisfied that it was a better name. So just leave it alone. Just let them be the Viking Raiders and let them go out there and do their thing. Another kind of interesting move, I guess. Looks like the Superstar Shakeup is still kind of going on. Cesaro has been moved over to Raw, so it looks like that pretty much effectively breaks up the bar which of course everybody knows was Cesaro and Sheamus's tag team. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. I mean, Cesaro and Sheamus both great singles wrestlers, but they ended up being an outstanding tag team. So I really kind of hate to see the team broken up. But if they're both gonna get, good singles runs out of it, then I have no complaints. Some other moves. It looks like Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel have been moved over to SmackDown, along with Selena Vega, Andrade, and Aleister Black. Yeah, kind of some rumors and speculation as far as why the move was made with Selena Vega and Andrade. Some people saying, oh, is Charlotte Flair exerting her influence to get her fiance or her boyfriend or whatever the case may be in Andrade moved over to the same show as her, and I highly doubt that. I mean, yes, she's Charlotte Flair. She's one of the top women in the company right now, but I don't know. I'm not thinking she has the kind of stroke for them to completely change up their plans like that just on a whim because she wants her significant other on the same show as her. Now, I know WWE does make accommodations, and was stated specifically by Bruce Pritchard on his podcast. I want to say last week or the week before, that they do make accommodations for married couples, and he was very specific about that. If they're married, yes, they will make as much of an effort as they can to keep married couples on the same show. But he also specifically said if it's just people dating or things like that, it's not given the same consideration, because you could be dating the person one minute and not dating them the next, and it's just not the same thing as a married couple, obviously. So I think a more plausible explanation is the other one that was put forward online, in that Fox wanted more Latino superstars on SmackDown to appeal to the Latino audience, and also to use on their Spanish station. I believe it's called Fox Deportes, I believe. I could be wrong. Obviously, I don't speak Spanish, so it's not something that I would watch regularly. But, that to me sounds like a more plausible explanation. And obviously, the move with Aleister Black, he and Selena Vega are married. So, that's a case of WWE making that accommodation to keep the couple together. Some interesting news on Raw. It looks like Bobby Roode is now back to being Robert Roode. Those of you that might have followed his career in Impact know that he did use the name Robert Roode for quite a while when he was part of Beer Money with James Storm. And it was just kind of part of his aristocratic, rich guy, quasi-million-dollar man type gimmick that he had at the time. And, so not a big name change, not anything new with him. What is new about him is he's now sporting, instead of the full beard that he had before, sporting a Rick Rude style mustache. And it looks like they may be kind of moving his gimmick a little bit in the Rick Rude direction. I don't know if it's just because of the name similarity there or what it might be, but I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm glad they finally made him a heel, and because he's definitely more a natural heel than he is a babyface. So I'm interested to see where this is going to go. Then on Raw and SmackDown, we saw some more vignettes for Bray Wyatt. Actually, one vignette. They showed it on both shows with his Firefly Funhouse, kind of a Mr. Rogers, Pee-wee's Playhouse, kind of creepy. Yeah, I'm not even sure how to describe it. I thought it was great. The reaction online was kind of mixed. A lot of people loved it like I did. A lot of people hated it. They're jumping to conclusions, saying it's a horrible gimmick. And I said this online, we haven't seen the gimmick yet, folks. I mean, we've seen a couple of vignettes with the buzzard and the witch and things like that, and let it play out. Have some patience. I'm kind of being cautiously optimistic about this because, as I said online as well, this could be one of the darkest, most disturbing characters that WWE has had in a long time. And I'm hoping that's the direction that they continue to move with it. Some interesting notes on this one. The buzzard that we've seen the last couple weeks popping out of the box. Apparently his name is Mercy, as in Waylon Mercy. If any of you guys remember that character from a number of years ago in WWE. That was a gimmick of a wrestler by the name of Dan Spivey. Probably remember him from more from his WCW days as a member of the Skyscrapers tag team with Sid Vicious and also with Mark Calloway, aka The Undertaker, Mean Mark Callis at that time. So kind of a little Easter egg there with Mercy the Buzzard, and the witch. Her name is Abby, as in Sister Abigail, the witch. So still kind of dropping hints to his old persona, Bray Wyatt's old persona. That is, we saw him take a chainsaw to an old to a cardboard cutout of him of his old persona, saying that that's not him anymore and that kind of thing. There was some theories going around online that maybe the Mercy the Buzzard and Abby the Witch represent some new members of the Wyatt family or whatever the faction might be called this time. That Mercy the Buzzard could possibly be Eric Young, and Abby the Witch could be Nikki Cross, which I think would be kind of cool. I'd like to see them do something along those lines with Nikki. I think she would fit that role very well. And then on the graphic for this Firefly Funhouse, there were actually three images shown on there. One was the Mercy the Buzzard, one was Abby the Witch, the other one was a rabbit. I'm not sure if that's supposed to represent Bray or if there's going to be another, possibly another member, being unveiled at some point. So we'll have to wait and see. But I'm liking the direction that this is pointing so far. So I'm hoping they keep it moving in that particular direction. Some other news coming out of the WWE. I'm sure everybody knows by now. Luke Harper had asked for his release from his WWE contract, and that was denied. I talked about that last week. Now it looks like WWE has exercised their option to extend his contract an additional 6 months to cover the time that he was out with his injury. And I said it online as well. I mean, yeah, that is their right. It's in the contract. They have every right in the world to do it. But it kind of goes to, and I know it's an old cliche, but just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, and it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. I mean, it just seems to me very petty that WWE would go that route. It's just kind of one of those things, the way that I view it, in my personal opinion, it's just kind of WWE saying, no, you're not going to go work for anybody else. We'd rather continue to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit at home and do nothing and get no return on our investment than have you go to another company that's not even a competitor for WWE at this point. I mean, yeah, AEW has the potential to operate at the same level as WWE, but that's all it is at this point, is potential. I mean, they have a long way to go before they'd even be considered competition. So, like I said, my opinion, WWE is just being very, very petty at this point with some of these contract things, with talent requesting their release. Somebody else who requested their release apparently or supposedly was Sasha Banks. I'm sure everybody's heard about that by now. Last word that I heard, or that I read, I should say, was that she could possibly be just sitting out the remainder of her contract, which supposedly WWE was said to be fine with, according to a couple of the articles that I read. But then, there have been some advertisements, some local advertisements for Money in the Bank pay-per-view showing her as part of the women's Money in the Bank match. So I don't think anybody really knows exactly what's going on with Sasha at this point. She may end up being at Money in the Bank. She may end up sitting home for the next year and a half, whatever it might be, until her contract is up. It's another one of those kind of wait-and-see things. Some kind of cool news from the WWE Performance Center down in Florida, holding some tryouts this week. Two of the participants in those tryouts are Lance Anoa'i, of course, another member of the Samoan Dynasty, and also Ivelisse Velez. For those of you that might remember her from the season of Tough Enough with Stone Cold Steve Austin, she was a part of that. She's wrestled on the independent scene quite extensively, and she was a part of all 4 seasons of Lucha Underground, for those of you that were fans of that show, as I was. So really, really kind of cool that she got the opportunity to go try out for WWE, and I'm hoping, maybe we'll see her in an NXT ring sometime sooner rather than later. Getting into Raw and SmackDown here, looks like they're starting to set up their Money in the Bank matches. Looks like for the Universal Championship at Money in the Bank, we're going to have AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins. I mean, that is just a dream match in and of itself. That's a main event anywhere in the world pretty much. So I'm really looking forward to that one. For the Raw Women's Championship, we've got Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans, and Becky Lynch pulling double duty at Money in the Bank. She's also going to be defending the SmackDown Championship against Charlotte Flair. So yeah, I'm thinking Becky's going to drop at least one belt at Money in the Bank. I mean, she's got two championship defenses, and then you figure you've got the women's Money in the Bank match as well. So it wouldn't surprise me to see her defeat Lacey and Charlotte, and then whoever wins the Money in the Bank come out at the end of that and take one of the titles off of her to split those titles back up. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. On the SmackDown side, we saw a confrontation between Roman Reigns and Shane McMahon, and saw Elias get involved and laid out a challenge to Roman for Money in the Bank, which Roman, of course, accepted. So that's another Money in the Bank match set right there. And I like that they're not throwing Roman directly into the championship picture. I think that would have really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Let Roman, let him get some SmackDown rivalries under his belt and build him up, and before immediately throwing him into the World Championship picture. Speaking of the World Championship, we saw what I think a lot of people were pretty much expecting. We saw Kevin Owens turn on the New Day. Now, apparently this was the plan all along. It just wasn't planned for quite this soon. I guess they were planning to extend out the Kevin Owens as part of the New Day for a little bit longer, probably at least until Big E came back from his injury. And Kofi was supposed to have some more stuff going on with Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's still out with an undisclosed injury. There's been no information released at all, which has people speculating left and right that it's some kind of concussion issue and he may be done permanently with WWE. I hope that's not the case. That would be horrible. As hard as he worked to get back, and to have it taken away from him basically a year later that would just suck, honestly. But so it looks like we're probably going to have Kevin Owens challenging Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship at Money in the Bank as well. On the NXT side, they're really kind of playing up the dissension that's been going on with the Undisputed Era. Of course, Roderick Strong had a match on NXT this week against against Johnny Gargano, and Undisputed Era tried to interfere, and Adam Cole ended up, pretty much costing Strong the match, and they're teasing a lot of dissension in the ranks, like I said. So I'm interested to see where this is going. I hope they don't split up the Undisputed Era. I've got to say, of the factions that are in WWE, which they're really the only one left at this point, but they're one of the best. So hopefully it doesn't they don't split them up too fast here. So moving on to what's going on this weekend. Of course, tonight is the Impact pay-per-view called Rebellion. It's actually going on right now as I'm recording this. I'm going to run down the card here real quick. We've got a 6-man tag team match with the Rascals taking on Moose and the North, which is Ethan Page and Josh Alexander. For the Impact Knockouts Championship, Taya Valkyrie is defending against Jordynne Grace. Of course, I think everybody knows I'm pulling for Jordynne Grace in that one. Rich Swann defending the X Division Championship against Sami Callihan. Gail Kim versus Tessa Blanchard. They've been, this has been building for quite a while between Gail and Tessa. Should be an outstanding match. Gail Kim, one of the all-time best, and Tessa Blanchard, one of the best right now. So it should be a great match. Then we've got a tag team match for the Impact World Tag Team titles. The Lucha Brothers defending against LAX. And for the Impact World Championship, Johnny Impact defending against Brian Cage, with Lance Storm as a special guest referee. So, definitely looks like a solid pay-per-view for Impact. I mean, top to bottom, you've got great matches there. So, I would definitely suggest checking that one out. Then, of course, last night we had the NWA pay-per-view, the Crockett Cup, and it was announced just prior to the pay-per-view that the winners of the Crockett Cup would also be the new NWA World Tag Team Champions. And for those of you who have not seen the pictures of the NWA Tag Team titles online, the belts are really cool looking. They went an old school direction with them, kind of the same way they did with the National Championship. These are very similar to the belts worn by the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express and teams from the 80s. So it was really, really just kind of a cool thing to see from the NWA. So let's run down that card right here. The first match was a wild card tag team battle royal to fill the last spot in the Crockett Cup tournament. That was won by Royce Isaacs and Thomas Latimer. Of course, Thomas Latimer, formerly Bram in Impact Wrestling. Then in the first round of the Crockett Cup, we had Bandito and Flip Gordon defeating Guerrero Maya Jr. and Stuka Jr. Another first round match, we had Isaacs and Latimer defeated the War Kings, Crimson and Jax Dane. That was a little bit of a surprise to me. I expected the War Kings to pretty much go to the finals, but of course, obviously that was not to be. And then we had the Briscoe brothers defeating the Rock and Roll Express, and I don't think anybody expected the Rock and Roll Express to come out as, the NWA Tag Team Champions or anything like that. But just the fact of having them in this tournament was just a really cool nod to kind of the heritage and the history of the NWA and the tag team division and the great tag teams that were involved in the NWA back in the day. And then the final first round match was Villain Enterprises, Brody King and PCO defeating Kojima and Nagata. So once again, the first round of the Crockett Cup, Bandito and Flip Gordon advanced, Isaacs and Latimer advanced, the Briscoe brothers advanced, and Villain Enterprises advanced. Then we had a match for the vacant NWA World Women's Championship, which was vacated by Jazz just recently. Sienna, Allison Kay, defeated Santana Garrett to win the vacant championship. Then starting into the semifinals of the Crockett Cup Tag Team Tournament, we had Isaacs and Latimer defeating Bandito and Flip Gordon, and Villain Enterprises defeating the Briscoe brothers. I think that a little bit of a surprise there. I expected the Briscoe brothers to actually win the tournament. They were my pick going in, but obviously not to be. So the finals was Isaacs and Latimer versus Villain Enterprises. Then we had a match for the NWA National Championship. Colt Cabana defeated Willie Mack to win the title, and at the end of the match, James Storm came out and laid down a challenge to Colt Cabana, so I'm sure we'll be seeing that match coming up in the near future. The finals of the Crockett Cup, Villain Enterprises defeated Isaacs and Latimer to win the Crockett Cup and become the new NWA World Tag Team Champions. So Brody King and PCO are the new NWA World Tag Team Champions. And the main event last night was for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, Nick Aldis versus Marty Scurll. Nick Aldis did retain his championship. I did not see the pay-per-view, but from everything that I saw and heard and read about it, it was a fantastic match, which with these two guys, I wouldn't expect any less. So, that's pretty much the rundown for this weekend. I want to mention again, don't forget, I will be at the Warrior Wrestling 5 event on Sunday, May the 12th in Chicago Heights at Marian Catholic High School, taking part in the Fan Fest right before the event. Fan Fest starts at noon. Bell time for the event is 2 p.m. Come on out, get pictures, autographs with all the independent stars that are going to be there. I'll be having a full match rundown the week prior to that, so that'll be next week. Actually, I'll be running down the full complete card for that show. And like I said, if you're in Chicago or going to be in Chicago that weekend, it's definitely worth your time and money to come and check it out. They put on a great show. It's a family-friendly show. Like I said, it's at Marian Catholic High School, and the proceeds from the show go to benefit the school for scholarships and things like that for the students. So and like I said, they get some of the best independent talent you can think of for their events. So it's definitely worth your time to come and check it out. I'll be recording the show there. Stop by, say hi. Give your thoughts on some of the matches, who you think's going to win, things like that. Should be a lot of fun. So, like I said, starting next week, I will be live streaming the podcast on Twitch. So I'm going to do that on Sunday, and that'll be right around. I'm going to try to do it like right around 3 p.m. So I'm going to try to do it consistently at the same time every week. So it'll be next Sunday, May the 5th, 3 p.m. Central Time on Twitch. I'll be live streaming the show, and then I'll be posting it to all the usual platforms right after that. So those who want to check the show out on Twitch, you'll be the first ones to see and hear it. And Like I said, right after that, it'll be on all the usual platforms: Podbean, Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and YouTube. After that, like I said, this week is the first week that the show is going to be on Stitcher and SoundCloud as well. Um, so again, thank you to everybody who's been listening and subscribing. Once again, Podbean, Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever you find your podcasts. And hope everybody's following on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, and now as well on LinkedIn. On every one of those platforms, it's at CatchHookShoot. And the email, if you ever want to get in touch, is catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So that will wrap it up for this week. I will be back next week with all the news and rumors from around the world of pro wrestling, and running down the complete card for Warrior Wrestling 5 taking place on Sunday, May the 12th. So until then, hope everybody has a good week, and I will talk to you guys soon.